You know, I've got a bone to pick with a particular HOA president. Her name Belinda Thornberry, the kind of woman who thinks the world bends to her will simply because she's got $300 highlights and a clipboard in her hand. A real piece of work, if you ask me. I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of dealing with someone like her, but I'll tell you, she almost made me lose my mind. And here's the kicker. She didn't just mess with me. She tried to tear down the last piece of my late wife Sarah's memory. That shed. You know, the 8x10 little thing? It held everything that was left of Sarah, her rose clippers, the Christmas ornaments we used to hang, even her gardening gloves that still smelled like lavender. It was my last connection to her, the one place I could still feel her near. And what does Belinda do? She decides that my grief is an eyesore, something that needed to be erased for the sake of her precious neighborhood standards. This woman was playing a power game, and she was going to use my pain to get ahead. Now I know you might be thinking, Dan, why not just let it slide? It's just a shed. But when someone tries to strip you of your last connection to the person you loved more than life itself, something inside you snaps. What would you do in my shoes? I don't know about you, but I wasn't about to roll over and take it. So, yeah. I tore the damn thing down the next morning. And what I built in its place? Well, let's just say when Belinda saw the final result, her face was priceless. You won't believe how it all went down. My name's Dan Kowalski, and I moved to Willowbrook Estates thinking I'd found a peaceful place to rebuild my life after losing Sarah to cancer 3 years ago. Big mistake. This suburban paradise I'd imagined was nothing like what it seemed. I bought a corner lot, hoping to restore motorcycles, teach woodworking, maybe even follow through on Sarah's dream of building a garden workshop. But instead of peace, I got a whole lot of trouble thanks to one woman, Belinda Thornberry. See, I didn't start out wanting to fight. I built that shed for Sarah's tools because she always dreamed of teaching neighborhood kids pottery. It was a simple 8x10 storage shed, nothing fancy. Just a place to keep the rose clippers sharp, the clay pots stacked the Christmas angels' ceramic faces, watching over everything we'd built together. I thought it'd help me feel closer to her. I even made sure to follow the rules, permits, HOA approval inspections, the whole 9 yards. And it was all in the clear. Until Belinda decided to make my grief her next conquest. Picture this. A blonde bob haircut, a $300 shopping spree on athleisure wear, driving a BMW X5. She'd taken her position as HOA president way too seriously, like she was some suburban dictator. Our first meeting, it was an ambush. I was sitting by the pool minding my business when she came up, clipboard in hand, ready to deliver her verdict. Dan, sweetie, she said with that venom-laced honey tone, that adorable little shed of yours is really impacting property values. The architectural committee might need to revisit certain approvals. She showed me her own signed email. Yep, she'd approved it 4 months ago. The mask cracked instantly. The rules evolved, Anne, she said. Some of us have serious investments to protect here. The insult wasn't even subtle, and I wasn't having any of it. She glanced over at my decade-old pickup truck like it was an eyesore, a real jab at everything she thought was beneath her. 2 weeks later, the harassment started. The first thing that tipped me off was when City Inspector Rodriguez came by. Dan, I hate this, he said. His shoulders slumped. He told me someone had filed a complaint saying my shed violated setback rules and square footage. I asked who, but he couldn't say. He didn't have to. We both knew who was behind it. Now, I'm no fool. I'm a structural engineer with 30 years of experience in building things. I knew what was happening. It wasn't about property codes or aesthetics. It was all about power. Belinda saw a grieving widower and thought she could steamroll me. What she didn't know was that grief didn't make me weak. It made me dangerous. And she had no idea who she was messing with. So I did what any good engineer would do. I started looking for loopholes. And when the violation notice came in the mail, I saw an opportunity. You see, most people don't know this, but when authorities approve something, they can't just change their mind on a whim. That's called estoppel, and it's a legal shield. I spent that weekend digging through documents, HOA, covenants, property laws, zoning codes. And buried in Section 12.3 of the original covenant, I found something golden grandfathered protection for approved structures. Belinda had just handed me a legal sledgehammer. But wait, there's more. I dug deeper. I cross-referenced property records, permit databases. And guess what I found? Belinda's deck, yes, the very one she'd been harassing me over, was built without permits. No inspections. Nothing. That's right. She'd been sitting on a massive violation of her own, and I was about to expose it. I filed my complaint, and the city inspector Rodriguez called me up, barely containing his laughter. "Dan, you magnificent son of a, you just found the golden ticket." Belinda had been running the HOA for years, approving everyone else's projects, but not her own. And now her dirty little secret was out. The best part, Belinda didn't even know what hit her. By the time she realized I had the upper hand, it was too late. She showed up at my door looking frazzled. The designer highlights were all over the place. She was sweating through her expensive perfume like a scared rabbit. I played it cool, reminding her that the same rules that protected my shed protected her unpermitted deck too. She tried to backpedal, but I wasn't having it. That's when I told her, calm, collected, and with a hint of menace, "You're going to withdraw your violation notice by Friday. You're going to file proper permits for your deck. And you're going to leave me and my shed alone. If not, Rodriguez processes your violation just like you tried to process mine." She left without a word, her BMW revving like an angry hornet as she peeled out of my driveway. But it didn't end there. Belinda was doubling down, and she called an emergency HOA meeting. She was accusing me of everything under the sun, violating neighborhood safety, threatening children, you name it. It was a full-on attack. But when she started presenting her drone footage of my shed, I had a little surprise of my own. I stood up, and with a cool smile, I asked, "Belinda, are you referring to the time you came to my door begging me not to report your unpermitted deck?" The room fell silent. I pulled out my phone and opened the email from Rodriguez showing her her own deck violation. That's when she cracked. She started spewing lies, talking about how she'd been trying to protect the neighborhood, how I didn't belong there. And that's when the final bombshell dropped. She'd been running the HOA with no legal authority. Her election was a fraud. Her whole 6-year reign a lie. And when I showed her I had the proof, it was game over. Belinda Thornberry, the so-called queen of Willowbrook Estates, was about to face the music for all her shady dealings, fraudulent elections, embezzlement, bribery, you name it. So what happened next? Well, after all the lies and harassment, Belinda was arrested. She was charged with fraud, bribery, and embezzling from the HOA funds. Her career was over. And as the crowd cheered and the police escorted her away in handcuffs, I couldn't help but smile. But the story didn't end there. In the months that followed, my shed became a symbol of justice. Not just for me, but for the whole neighborhood. People who had been living in fear of Belinda's reign were finally free. And as for me, I spent my time teaching woodworking to kids in the underground workshop I'd built in her honor. So here's the moral of the story. Sometimes the best way to take down a bully is to build something that can't be touched. And that's exactly what I did. What about you? Ever had an HOA nightmare? Ever had a moment where you realized the rules don't apply to some people? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've ever had to deal with a Belinda, I'd love to hear how you handled it.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.